Hello, everybody. This is the weekly static site editor sync meeting. Today is Monday, the 5th of October, and as usual, this is the engineering flavored edition. Um, I'll start off by reading a few highlights from the past week. The first one is actually one that was missed from the week before, and the initial work to make the submit changes, speed UX improvement landed from Derek. Um, and so now the users forwarded the success screen instantly versus waiting for something to happen on the screen with just a loading spinner. So that's great progress there. Um, and then the initial merge request to introduce the title and description values that the user can edit as part of their workflow is in play as well. And the next one there is Derek. I saw you added the SVG height. I remember seeing the MR where you introduced the uh, the success screen improvement, and then I saw on the video it popping in and out, and it immediately I picked it up, and then I like later in my email notifications I saw, hey, Derek is fixing this. So I wanted to do a special shout out. Thanks for caring about the quality of our product and the user experience to not just leave that because you know based on our principle of iteration stuff you could have easily just left it but you cared enough to do it, so thanks for that. I appreciate that. All right, some general announcements. So as I mentioned, Eric and Michael are still OOO. So it's not just this week, it's today, so they're back tomorrow. um, A reminder of our social call on Thursday. It's a continuation of the theme of sharing a bit more about your location, your culture, and your food, and and then a reminder we have our AMA to continue our discussion around our product group refocus. Um, and then lastly, also we've got our first Think Big session coming up in on Wednesday. For for Derek and for Vasily and Chad, you'll remember when we had those Think Big sessions right in the beginning when we still had no static site editor or an idea of what we were going to do. But these sessions are really important to help just let your mind go in terms of where we can take the product going forward. And out of those, we get some great direction and feedback that we can look to apply. All right, let's get into the updates. And first up, static site editor. Chad, can you give us an update on how the config file works going?
Sure, good morning. So for point A, as it says, all the functionality is merged, just waiting to verify it in production before the issues are closed. So all of the values that we wanted to support are there. And the next step is to update the static site editor project template with those changes to reflect it. And I'm going to start by uh, spiking on the one that we have in the sandbox project and get it in the right state, make sure it all works, and then I'll copy the results over to the template. The uh, the one thing that does need some action uh, from product management, or if we can work together on it, is this issue. There's the old config file we had, which has one value in it, and we need to come up with a plan for moving that over and deprecating it. I'd suggested just putting it as part of this epic, but Eric had said he wanted to make a new epic for that effort since it involves some deprecation. So kind of need to sort that planning out. And uh, we can discuss this, but I'm proposing that we just defer all of the documentation until after all of that is done because I think it'll just be easier, less time for the technical writers and everybody else if we do all of those documentation changes at once, and the changes should be pretty quick once we just get the issues written for them. The addition of the other two fields were easy. And I guess that's it on that one.
All right. I'm okay with the documentation deferring it to after the change, as long as it, I guess, it's part of this milestone and it will make the release. Because this feature will, I mean, it's yes, it hasn't been merged yet, but it's highly likely that it's going to be merged in the next few days, and so it will land. And so we just want to make sure that we don't miss out on having the documentation available. Um, so as long as, and also we must try and remember that. Sorry, I'm getting my dog barking. We must try and remember that the technical writers are really swamped at the end of or just before the release cutoff of the 17th, trying to get all the stuff reviewed and stuff. So the quicker we can get Marcia to start reviewing this, the better. So maybe an initial draft just to kind of like get things going might be a good idea.
Maybe in our one-on-one after this, since Eric is out today, we could just get the issues lined out or whatever, and I can hopefully just try to maybe wrap up the work today and get the actual work for the changes ready in review, and then plans to start the docs
All right, cool. Yeah, so I guess my
this
only
week.
thing that I'd like to avoid is keeping the documentation reviewed right till the end before the release, because that's crazy time for the technical writers. I see Susan nodding there.
So the one question I have is like if the docs are slightly out of sync, like within that one, say we get the docs done and they hit, but the review of the actual moving of the config value is getting delayed. Like, how does the coordination on that work?
We prefer that they happen together. The docs,
Right.
we don't want the docs to go before the feature goes. I mean, ideal is same time. Now, the first draft of the docs does not have to be perfect, but the review, if you leave the review to the end, we really do get swamped.
Okay, so we'll get it done sooner than later, and maybe just leave the last changes for in a separate commit, so those can always be removed easily if they don't actually make
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Chad, you and I can sort this out in our one-on-one in terms of next steps there. Jacques, update on the video embeds.
Yeah, so this week I'm still just continuing work on embedding YouTube videos. Last week we merged the first part of it, so this week I'm just working on the final iteration, which is adding the modal to the front end.
All right. Enrique, update please from you.
So last week we finished the evaluation criteria for the rich containers we were evaluating. I linked the spreadsheet in there. We had a great discussion around all of the data that we collected about those data. We decided to move forward with TipTap and CKAtor 5 for a proof of concept phase. In that phase, we are going to be answering some questions about performance of the editor and other characteristics like how well they perform on mobile devices. So I'm going to focus this week on working on those proof of concepts for both editors.
Cool. Definitely looking forward to seeing the outcome of that.
A great job
Derek.
capturing the exact questions that we had, Enrique. That's exactly what we talked about.
Thank you.
All right, Derek, update from you.
Yeah, just basically the feature's done. Just got to finish writing the specs, and Enrique is going to help me with an issue I'm having with that right after this for the title description UI. And then after that, it's just a bunch of various follow-ups. I'm not sure exactly what order I'm going to attack them, but it's the last big piece for me.
Cool. I think it'll be a really nice improvement. I know I will definitely be making use of being able to edit the title and description as part of the flow. Okay, we're going to move over to the handbook updates. Chad, you're first up there.
Yes, so that link that says the issue, it looks like Cheryl Lee commented on that just about an hour ago and said that so the problem is we keep having problems with the merge train on www.gitlab.com. It gets stuck often, and sometimes the workaround doesn't work, or at least it doesn't appear to work, given how they've documented it. And so I'd commented on this issue because it got put in the backlog and was concerned because that takes a lot of time for us and marketing as well to babysit this thing, and nothing gets done when it's stuck. And we're also to the point where last time we turned it off, we realized we really can't live without it. There's so much activity and chance of broken master when we turn it off. But it looks like she said that being in the backlog doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to get in, and they're going to discuss being more proactive about this, fixing this or detecting it. So I guess we can remain cautiously optimistic, but it's still a high concern for me, especially given all of the things that are going to be on our plate going forward. We don't need more distractions to our time, especially ones that are like undefined, how to fix them and time sinks.
Yeah, I think the thing to do there is to keep sharing the challenges we have, so that it can keep staying on the radar in terms of the importance. I think, like the team member applied pressure shouldn't necessarily impact the P or the S level of an incident or bug, but it surely does contribute to the. I hope it will. It's currently being considered for 13.6, and I mean, I also just send a message to the PM to ask them to consider this priority because of the broader context. Um, but yeah, thanks for commenting on that. And
Well, it was at your
I
urging. I
agree.
asked you first, and you said, "Well, why don't you
Yeah,
comment on the issue?" Well, I will.
well, I
Actually, there's
mean,
another one happening right now.
that is the GitLab way. But I think I agree with your point. Last time we turned off merge trains, it caused havoc with broken masters and stuff, and we should not. That should be a last resort. We do that. So I remember also with the block release that needed to go out for the getter announcement. The train was stuck, and I just pulled it off the train and merged immediately. So we do have a workaround for critical things that need to quickly go out. But yes, ideally we can get the train running smoothly without any involvement going forward. So let's see how that plays out. Okay, Vasily, update from you on the handbook work that you've been working on.
So as a preparation step for the frontman migration, we are gonna move it from the middleman at some point of time. I was migrating some our extensions to the helpers because extensions are not supported by the frontman. And I finished the work of migrating 2 of them last week. And my next point is I was also working on some improvements for linter that can detect broken links and anchors. Currently, current version can detect some of them, but it does not checks everything. So I added some extra checks, and I was fixing the problems that a new version of the linter detected. Plus, I will request some code owners of the pages where it was not clear for me how to properly fix the anchors. I'll ask them to help me with that.
Also wanted to give Vasily a shout out, as for example, in the migrations, he never just does something. Like whenever he touches code, he always refactors it to be better, adds the tests. He's always improving it. So I really appreciate that.
Thank
Shout
you,
out.
Chad.
Yeah, I'll second that. I spoke to Andre, who you'll remember added that feature for the common misused terms, and And Vasily went in, and instead of just like giving feedback in terms of, he just went and wrote a bunch of specs and everything, which was great. And I know Andre really appreciated it. So yeah, thanks for going the extra mile, Vasily. It's appreciated. All right, the last point I have there on the handbook. All right, over to GitLab Docs. Vasily, can you give us an update on the work there?
Sure. So last week I was mostly addressing comments from my merge request, and I feel that we almost done. So I hope it's getting merged this week. I have one more to be reviewed, and after that we can start testing that all links to the help pages will go to the documentation side from the main GitLab instance. And as a next step, I will continue investigating and working on the offline documentation.
Great. All right, Lauren, over to you for an update. What's going on in growth marketing?
We are getting our OKRs together for the next quarter. The top 4 is the Netlify CMS, implementing a design system, selecting a new static site generator, and then getting a Webpack build process in, which hopefully I'll get that launched actually this week. So there's links to all those. That's what we're up to.
Oh, sounds like some nice work coming up there. All right, since Eric's not here, there's no product update to make. I will just remind you all again about our product AMA tomorrow, where we will continue discussing our product focus for the next few milestones. And with that, we actually finished early today. So I'll give you all back your 8 minutes till half an hour. So have a good day further, everybody.